And the opportunity that you just stated, and I hope everybody heard what she just said, is the exact reason why he's doing this. You just, in a nutshell, stated the whole damn conversation that I had.
Not necessarily on the landscape of club teams, but what club are you looking at for this team?
So that is the best question that anybody could have asked at this table. So there are several clubs in this area that have contacted Curtis, that he's had conversations with in the past and has had them recently. The goal is to ensure that you guys have a definite interest in proceeding with something so that way a decision can be made together as to where people are going. More so than it just being his responsibility to do that, he wants families to understand what the opportunities are that are out there for people to meet and have conversations similar to this to make a decision that's going to be best overall for the group, and not just a selfish decision because of the club's history, or oh man, the field is over here, or oh, my kid played over here before. This has to be more of a mutual decision than it is just him making that decision, in all fairness, for people that are willing to make that leap.
Somebody to come in and bring a whole team.
100%. They're all interested in your money. They will not turn it down. They're all interested in your money.
On that note, what are the average dues per club?
So it all really depends. Some of that actually depends on roster size, and I know that Curtis himself isn't interested in overblowing a roster. I think that anywhere from 14 to 16 is enough. Okay, anything above and beyond that, you're probably looking at more of a high school age team, maybe carrying 18 players, because there's more injury risk once you start hitting 14 to 16 years old with growth and things like that. But somewhere between 14 and 16 players, your actual club dues are going to range anywhere from $2,300 to $2,500 at a normal club playing at a flight like that. I know there's a lot of other clubs out there that'll run it up based upon what's on their jersey, which, again, is another conversation to be had with all of you guys to make sure that financially it's economical. There are some people that don't have, a problem paying an exorbitant amount, and some people just don't have the means, let's be honest. There are clubs out there that, for people of modest means, will also help with scholarship funds, okay? You could also get sponsorship. If we bring in corporate sponsorship for any of the team, you're able to have them actually donate to the 501c3, okay? And it's actually a charitable contribution that they could write off. My company has done that in the past for both of my daughters for very different reasons, whether it would have been for the actual club dues to help pay for a player whose parents simply couldn't afford the dues, or if it was to assist the team with team dues so that way they could play in certain tournaments. Because the tournament costs can get up there. Tournaments range anywhere from about $650 to $1,300, depending on the tournament and the age group that you're in. They get more expensive as the kids get older. The more players you have on a team, the more money they want to steal from you. And the better looking the trophies are, let's be honest. So, there's a lot that's going to go into that decision. Right now, the majority of this conversation is hinging on what type of buy-in this group has with this coach, this man here. That's what this is really about. We can go ahead, you guys can all make the determination with Curtis as a group and as a family what the best opportunities for. We could lay out 3 or 4 different opportunities. If it's the dues that are the biggest concern, the practice locations are the biggest concern, the flight you're playing in is the biggest concern, whether or not there is a pathway. Does the club have a pathway for my daughter to be able to excel? You got to ask those questions, guys, whether you're here or not. These are questions you're going to ask somebody. If I leave this environment and I go into a club environment, what does the landscape look like in that club? Is my kid, if they excel and they work their ass off, are they going to be able to climb a ladder or at least have an opportunity to?
I think, a lot of people are coming from extra, and they want to, if they keep the team together or don't, what's the benefit either or?
So, truth be told, it's all dependent on what the player wants, and where the parents feel their commitment is. Because this is really all about the player's commitment. As a parent, in our heart, we're willing to do a lot for our kids. We're willing to go that extra mile. I don't think any of us want to drive an hour and a half to practice like I was doing to go to Cyprus to take my kid to soccer. Okay, but at the end of the day, you're gonna do it if your kid really is committed and they show that they really want to do that and be in that environment. Okay, AYSO Extra gives the kids the ability to have a fun environment and learn, but there's a very low ceiling there. Okay, because if you're looking for growth, you're pretty stagnated there. Okay, and you guys are going to notice this when your kids play high school soccer too. High school soccer's rec league. I'm going to tell you that right now, and no offense in any way, but when your kids go to high school, the way that they're coached, the style of play, the competitive nature, you get kids that haven't even played soccer that come out and play on the soccer team, okay, that are playing soccer for the first time, and there's no cut policy. In most schools, at freshman, sophomore level, there's no cuts, okay, so those kids got to play. So believe me, it's a different environment. Club is a different environment. And they used to not allow players in certain leagues to actually play high school soccer. Since COVID, they've been allowing ECNL players to play high school soccer. Before that, they were not allowed.
So are you saying that players can play both?
They can play both. There's actually a 3-month break. The beginning of every December till the end of February, your daughters, as they go into high school, will have a 3-month break specifically per CIF rules, and the whole country basically does it. But per CIF rules, your child cannot participate in club soccer or any club activity. The only thing that they'll be able to participate in during their high school season is what's called an ID camp. That's the only exception. And what an ID camp is it's a camp full of college recruiters along with a high-level set of coaches that sits there, watches your daughter in a training environment, puts them in the games against each other in that camp for 2 days straight, and then they decide whether or not they want to recruit that player further. And they'll contact you if they do, or they'll come and watch a game at some point later, or they'll watch you at a showcase somewhere down the road. But that's what those camps are for. But that's the only thing, because high school aligns with college recruitment, right? Other high school sports like football, you don't have club football. You got high school football, and then you go into college football. Or you played flag football, then high school football, then college football, right? So soccer's a little bit different. It's more club oriented, as is baseball. Anyways, go ahead.
What a showcase is.
So what a showcase is it's a tournament that spans over a 3-day period. Each team is guaranteed 3 games, and the goal of that tournament is basically to have your kids play equal like competition, so that way college coaches could sit in white chairs on the sideline and folding chairs and watch your daughters play soccer and beat the hell out of each other for 80 minutes, 90 minutes, and decide which players they want to go after and recruit. That's what a showcase is.
What if we have a group of, like, let's say, okay, we've got 10 for sure, we're locked in, we're going to move forward.
Sure.
Will a club step in and help us, like say, okay, we need to have tryouts, we need to add 4 to 5 more girls?
So a club always keeps a pipeline of players that have reached out that are interested. They also have multiple tryouts per year, and the team is also welcome to host open training. A lot of what you guys are doing right now is obviously predicated on referral. But with how large these clubs are, they're always looking to add teams, and they have interest from players, but they don't have teams that they could actually facilitate because there's already a full roster on one team, and they can't fill a whole nother roster. Like West Coast, for example, they have a full roster on a 2011 team, but they only have 3 other players. But instead of creating a haphazard team and just throwing a bunch of kids together, they decided that it's best to not have an additional team. Okay, so they only have 1 team in that age group. When you ask about how they add more players to the roster, you may garner more interest from friends or family or referrals between now and then as well. Otherwise, you can physically hold a tryout. And the way that a lot of teams do that is they'll leverage social media. We have lines on soccer boards. Okay, we can bring players out at any point in time. Okay, and at the level we're playing at, right? At the level this team's going to be at to start out, it's not going to be the top of the top. So you're going to garner more interest because there's a lot of kids out there that know, a lot of parents that are out there that know that that level isn't long for their child. Their child can't play at that level. So they're looking for something local. And remember, if I'm going out and I try and have my daughter try out for a team, the thing that I'm paying that fee for, that's him. I'm not paying for the damn club. I'm paying for this guy. This is the reason why I'm paying the dues, is for somebody to be out there and training my kid 2 to 3 times a week, being there to manage the game, being there to help them, okay? That's what the real thing that gets lost in club. They'll throw anybody out there with an English accent, man, and tell you that they're the next Ronaldinho or Ronaldo or whoever the hell they want to make them out to be. Well, you guys know, you guys see the British coaches come out for ASO. Yeah. They come out there, hey, kick the ball, mate. Just do it this way. You know, and the girls think that it's cute and they're pretty to look at, you know, most of them. They got the accent, so it's sexy, right?
What about dues? What do player dues go to?
So the team is going to determine what the actual team dues are, okay? Understanding that the team dues are really made up and comprised of how many tournaments the team enters into, okay? That's a big one, okay? If the tournaments are somewhere between $600 and $1,300 a pop, well, that money has to be pooled together, okay? So it's likely that you'll do some additional fundraising or you'll seek out a sponsorship to help pad that kitty, okay? Because that could be a very expensive proposition. The club dues themselves are only a portion of what goes on with the year. And annually, your team is going to set up a budget, okay? And the team is going to set up a budget based upon what tournaments they want to enter into. So before you guys even start in the season, you're going to look at tournaments, you're going to devise a budget, you're going to know exactly what that costs, you're going to know exactly what dates those tournaments are, because they publish them, most of them are published 6 to 12 months in advance. So you'll know when it's okay, you know, to take a vacation and maybe not miss something if you guys have mad FOMO. I mean, you only live once, your kids got to be kids still. You're not tied to this as though this is the end-all be-all. And that's the other thing that a lot of parents that enter club don't understand. What happens if I go on vacation and my kid misses a game? Some of these club coaches will pigeonhole the hell out of a kid for missing a tournament, a game. You want to go to Hawaii? Sorry, Susie can't play forward anymore. She's going to sit.
You said you have like that we would come together and have a budget that we had discussed.
Yeah.
Isn't a club going to say?
No, the club allows the team to determine, so that the dues are separate, okay? Each player is going to be responsible for club dues. Club dues are the player fees. Generally, what those include are the coach, the facilities that they practice and play on. Most of the clubs will include a backpack and a home and away kit, okay? Those are the things that are generally included, and it's usually one tournament. And it's usually the tournament that is the home tournament for that club. So, for example, Blues has Blues Cup, and their club dues, they get the backpack, the uniforms, the coach, the fields, and practice time, and they get the tournament. That's what the Blues get when you sign up for the Blues. And you pay $3,200. Okay? Obviously, that's an exorbitant amount, but you're paying for the name. You're paying for the lineage and the legacy there. Okay? So when you're talking, one more second, let me finish answering her question. Team dues are something that's completely separate. The team needs to set aside a budget. That budget is going to be dependent on what tournaments the team intends to enter into. So each tournament has fees individually, right? Like I said, anywhere from $600 to $1,300, depending on what tournament you decide to play in, okay? And the team needs to put all the money together in a kitty, and that's how those things get paid. Some teams call it a slush fund, some teams call it a kitty, some teams call it the budget, whatever we want to call it or you guys want to call it, that's what it would be, okay? So to answer your question directly, what you guys want to participate in is what you're going to gather that money for, because the club doesn't pay for anything above and beyond what I just told you get in your dues. And if you guys are expecting more than that, like private training, the only person on the team that gets any additional training above and beyond what you do in a practice is the goalkeeper. That's the only person that has a unique training. If the coaches at that club hold any sort of private training, that's a separate fee.
Let's talk a little bit about travel.
So travel itself, at this age, for the level you're going to be playing at, the longest travel it would be for you guys would be to San Diego. Okay, unless you chose to participate in Mayor's Cup or Vegas Cup, okay, which is a competitive tournament, and there's 2 of them in Las Vegas. If you guys like Las Vegas and you decide that you guys want to take a trip together and do travel soccer in Las Vegas, Mayor's Cup and Vegas Cup are 2 good tournaments to play in. Vegas Cup is actually Martin Luther King weekend every year, and then they have the Players Showcase, which is the 3rd week of March every year.
Share the treasure, like, you know, you were sharing with me one time about how the treasurer and they should be separate.
So the way that the structure of the team would work is you obviously have your coach, you're going to have a team admin or team mom or team manager or team dad, whatever that person is. That person is going to be responsible for communicating out things like practice is canceled or managing a team snap or a band account, you know, to keep the game schedule up to date and, you know, help plan team events and parties, whether it's team building or you know, holiday parties or anything like that. And making sure that they hold on to the cards and the player forms, because you have to have specific cards for league play. And even when you travel, you have to have those cards, and then you have to have medical release forms that you keep in a binder, okay? So the team manager or admin would be the person that would hold on to all that stuff, okay? The team would also have a team treasurer. There would be 2 signers on the team bank account for the team dues.
Thank you.
Take care, you guys. You guys are very welcome. Pleasure meeting you. So there would be 2 signers on the bank account to ensure that there was no fraudulent activity. Okay? That's the best way to do it. You don't want anybody at risk of being accused of embezzlement or actually attempting embezzlement. Those are hard-earned dollars that people are putting into that, or donations that people are putting into that account, and those need to be spoken for and accounted for at all times. So that's the way that the structure would work, just to keep everybody's best interest safe and everybody's money safe. Yes?
Are the dues you mentioned, is it per season or per year?
Per season, per year, excuse me. So the way that most club contracts work, because everybody enters into a contract when they sign up for club soccer. Most clubs have a contract that will go from April 1st through March 31st. The other option that clubs have is July 1st through June 30th. It will become more common as the girls get older to have contracts that go from July 1st to June 30th, because the higher leagues seasons start July 1st and go through June 30th, okay? The ECNL leagues, the GA leagues, the NPL leagues, those leagues have playoffs throughout the month of June, whether it's regional or national. So once those end, contracts end. Then the new contractual season starts July 1st. Then you're moving on with that team or you're on another team. But you're always going to be in contract. That means you can't just willy-nilly and say, hey, this sucks, I'm going to go play for this other team. And you want to know what's going to happen, you're going to have a conversation with the coach, you're going to have a conversation with the director, and they're going to have to determine whether or not they're going to release your player. If they decide they don't want to release your player, it's either A, because you haven't paid your club dues in full, which some people go on payment plans to pay their club dues. Most clubs have a payment plan or a payment option, okay? Or it's because they're vindictive and they just don't want to see your kid succeed. She's the best player on the team, and they don't want her to play against them. They don't want her playing anywhere else. I've seen that happen on my own daughter's team before, where our coach actually cut the legs out from under an 11-year-old girl and didn't let her leave.
happens to an extra team when they go to club? What happens the next year or 2 years after?
So a lot of what happens in environments like that, where you're going into a situation where you don't have a coach actually keeping your team together, you don't have that glue component, what they'll do is they'll watch your team throughout the season, and then their goal is going to be to poach people. Their goal is going to be to take the best athletes off that team and leverage them at a higher level, because that's what they care about, okay? When you go in there with a coach, you have somebody protecting them and siloing them, but also understanding that if the player cares to play at a higher level and is being recruited to play at a higher level, that's a discussion to be had. Yes, you can do whatever you want. You're not bound to anything once that contract ends. You can go play for any team you want, any club you want. His goal is going to be to get your players to be better throughout the season. That's his job, is to return your kid back to you at the end of that contractual year as a better athlete and a better person.
How does assistant coaching work? Do you get to pick assistant coach? Do they have assistant coaches?
So each coach at the club level is required to carry a certain license at each level, okay? So even if it's an assistant coach, if he has them on the roster, they have to physically be licensed. Otherwise, they'll just be considered the team admin. Doesn't mean you can't stand there next to him on the sideline. That's up to him.
Okay.
If he wants a parent standing there with him at that level, that's up to him. That's your guys' team, that's your culture, and that's up to him. On my younger daughter's team, believe it or not, they do have an assistant coach, but he is also the team admin. His name is Steve. He's a good guy. But he has a license, and that's what permits him to be in that role and rostered with the league.
Oh, I had a question earlier, yeah. So, just like when you're talking about like the balance and vacations and stuff, like we're familiar with like travel softball, and they take like a weekend off a month, they play friendlies twice and the tournament. And is that like the similar format?
So when it comes to tournaments are going to be determined by the team, so you're going to be able to plan in advance, right? And that's the whole premise of setting up that budget before the actual season really gets underway. So you know if you're playing Memorial Day weekend, you know if you're playing 4th of July weekend, you know if you're playing Labor Day weekend, right? Which is those are the 3 major weekends of the summer that have a holiday attached to them. Otherwise, the rest of them are just generic weekends where it's, Saturday and Sunday for all intents and purposes. So when it comes to league play, generally teams will play normally 1 game a weekend, sometimes 2, but usually it's 1 game a weekend.
Do they take a weekend off?
There will be bye weekends during league play, maybe 1 or 2 bye weekends in the fall. Fall is usually fairly busy for league. So what you can expect is from a Labor Day weekend until basically the weekend prior to Thanksgiving, you could expect to be decently busy with soccer. As serious as this gets, it's about the kids having fun.
So does it go also like competitively through spring and summer? Like, my daughter also plays other sports.
So at the highest level, the spring is okay. So 1 second. So at the highest level, their spring league is a continuation, because it's a league that goes basically from the weekend after Labor Day weekend until the end of June. They take the 3-month break for high school, then they go back in the league in March, and then it's the league and then playoffs after that. For Flight 1, Flight 2, Flight 3, that type of stuff, fall and spring are completely separate. That fall season starts the weekend after Labor Day, and it ends the week before Thanksgiving. You'll have a bye or 2 on a weekend throughout. There'll be some weekends where you have 2 games, some weekends where you only have 1. Some weekends where there'll be a game on Saturday, and then some weekends where there'll be a game on Sunday. But then you're going to have a holiday break, okay, after that. Your team is probably still going to train. You'll probably take the week break for Thanksgiving. You'll probably resume training after Thanksgiving because of the age you're in. You're not in high school yet, so your team continues to train. Then you'll take a 2-week break for Christmas break, just like you do for school. You'll take that break. You'll resume training most likely the week after the first of the year. You'll have your practices through then. Then you may have a tournament in January or a tournament President's Day weekend in February. You might embark on that journey with the team. You may not. Depends on what the team is budgeted for and what the team wants to do. Okay? And then your spring league's likely to start up in March. The spring league in that group, in that level, is slightly less competitive than it is in the fall. The fall season is a more competitive season in soccer, especially for girls soccer, because a lot of girls do play softball in the spring. So they leverage their time with softball more so and being dedicated to that sport, or lacrosse, or something else, field hockey, if they're into that. Okay? So summertime gets busy depending on how many tournaments you have. Fall is really what your core season is. You're going to have a break in winter. You're going to get back to it in January. You're going to practice, you're going to train, you're going to play a tournament or two, and then you're going to have your spring season, and then State Cup, which starts usually in the middle of February. That's going to go through the end of March, depending on how far you make it, and then your season's over. And then either the people continue with the team, or they go their separate ways, or they stop playing soccer, whatever it might be. But that's usually how it works at that level.
Summer is off,
No, summer has tournaments.
just tournaments.
Yeah, you're going to play 3 to 4 tournaments over the summer. And look, guys, I'm speaking from experience. I'm not the end-all, be-all. I'm not going to sit here and tell you I know everything there is to know. Everybody's experience is going to be what they make of it and what presents itself. That doesn't mean you guys are going to have the same that I ran into. It doesn't mean that you guys are going to pay for nothing and have trouble. It doesn't mean that you're not going to get the best training available to you, but doing it with a known quantity is a hell of a lot more comforting, knowing that you're getting into something that is worth your daughter's commitment, their time, your money, your commitment and effort, and ultimately their growth and happiness. I'm not here personally to sell you guys a car. Okay, this is more about trying to bestow some information and experience, on the team,
And it was really helpful.
to make sure. You had a question?
Yeah, just to extend on the previous question, we usually plan our vacations in summer. So what if we miss couple of tournaments because of that? Is that a big deal? Is that going to affect her performance?
No, again, look, you guys got to understand, you're dealing with I'm going to give you guys something that's very real in club soccer. Most club soccer coaches are single males, okay? They're single males. They don't have families to go home to. They don't have kids to attend to. They don't understand how the family dynamic works. This coach has a family. He's lived in that environment. He understands that people need to devote time to their family. You don't get that time back, okay? I missed the first 5 years of my older daughter's life because I worked my ass off at my job. I'm not going to miss the rest of that. So I'm going to take my vacations even though she plays at a high level of soccer, and if the coach pigeonholes her, then guess what? He's not the right fit. But he's not Curtis. He's not a known quantity. He's some frickin' stranger to me. Okay, so that's the biggest difference there. I know for a fact that that's not his reaction. If you plan your time out and you give notice so he knows how to prepare the team for the absence of your daughter, especially if it's the goalie, not to put you on the spot, okay? But if that's the case, he needs to be prepared. He's got to have an opportunity to understand. If kids call out sick, they call out sick. Yeah.
I think that this is a very unique opportunity because it's a new team that's being formed.
Yeah.
That it's not there's not a second and third string. So all of our girls have an opportunity to play at a high level with a great coach and actually have the reps that are needed to develop and to grow in that next level. And this is a very, having a son in a truly really high performing environment, the fact that you get the reps in is key, and that's, I think, very unique to what Curtis is doing.
And the opportunity that you just stated, and I hope everybody heard what she just said, is the exact reason why he's doing this. You just, in a nutshell, stated the whole damn conversation that I had.
Hey guys, if you are listening to this, you've made it to the end, and this is Curtis, the Vamos Soccer Development and Training creator. I know this was a lot of information. I was debating or not whether to turn this into 3 episodes, but I just want to get it done and give you guys some information. I know you could pick something from the first episode. If you haven't heard the first episode, I'll make sure to put it at the end so you can click on it and watch that one. But this is the second episode of 2 with a lot of information in regards to club. If you are going from rec and going to club, there are a lot of information that parents wanted and didn't know about. After this presentation was done, there was a lot of great feedback that was given on how they didn't know something or they learned something. One of the biggest decisions as a parent or as a coach, if you are deciding to go to club and you are not a licensed coach already, you are going to need a club license. But if you are just going in and you still need a club license, you are probably not the right coach for those kids. These kids, it's great to keep these kids together and having fun and enjoying the sport, but there are going to be kids that want to go on to college, and those kids need to be coached by coaches that know what they're doing and know the advanced level of coaching strategies and techniques. Just keeping a team together to have fun isn't the main reason you should go to club. Just to play competitive teams isn't the main reason you go to clubs. Obviously, you want the team to have fun. Obviously, you want the players to have fun. But they also got to have the competitive fight in them. So be aware of that, because if you do go with one coach that is not that skilled or that doesn't have a license, that team is going to be torn apart. They are going to take those better players away. There are a lot of things I also didn't talk about in here that I have learned becoming a club coach. And I'm going to have a different episode and share what I've learned so far that would be helpful for all those new club coaches, new parents, even players. There's a lot of stuff that I did not get shared in here that I feel is very pertinent information. So I'll post another episode. I'll talk about how to pick a coach if you're not going from rec team to club and you are just going from rec to club without a team. There's certain things you need to know when you're picking a coach to find the right coach. It's a great presentation for a lot of people. Share this with a lot of parents out there that you know. The main goal for all the coaches out there are for the players to have fun and to grow their passion for the game. I think that gets lost in a lot of this club talk is, I want my son or daughter to go to college. I want them to be the best. But I've seen players quit and at 18 years old because of club coaches, because of parents. Let the players enjoy the game. I'm going to leave you with that. I appreciate you listening and making it all to the end. Please leave comments and questions below. Next episode is going to go back to the training and sharing some helpful tips for beginner players and little tricks that I've developed to help those players learn certain passing techniques and shooting techniques. Again, this is Curtis with Vamos Soccer. Hope you enjoyed it, and I will catch you on the next one. Take care.